Good afternoon.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there. Okay. I have headphones in just because I've got the fireplace going, the heater, like there's just noise. But it's 6 degrees here and I was like, it's so cold. And then I heard that today is the day that it was -80 in Alaska so long ago. And I was like, never mind.
Oh, right.
Wow.
So welcome, you guys. Hello, my tapping family. I hope that you guys are all doing well. There's about 8 of us here, including myself. Today our program is, let me just tell you a little bit about myself for those of you that may not know me. My name is Erin. I've been a health coach for a while, and I've also been in Brittany's program since I want to say like the COVID-ish years, right? Kind of a blur. Um, and that's kind of when I found her, and then I went through her coaching program. I also am a Reiki master, and I have sugar addiction coaching as well. But my thing is just I'm a teacher. I love to teach, and I've decided it doesn't matter who I'm teaching, what I'm teaching. I just like to teach. So today we are going to be learning about like understanding sugar addiction and a little bit more behind why our brain kind of clings on to that and kind of help kind of reason through it a little bit, because it's not us individually, it's because we're human. So um so I kind of want to start out talking a little bit about addiction and what that word means to you guys. What does that word mean to you guys? Because when I hear addiction, I'm like, that's not me. That's not me. I don't smoke, I don't drink. That's Addiction is kind of a heavy word. What do you
Something you
guys think?
something you can't turn away from?
Yeah. Yeah. The official definition of addiction is defined as the fact or condition of being addicted to a particular substance, thing, or activity. So it doesn't have to be, like when I think of addiction, I like think of smoking or drinking or drugs or something. And I don't know about you guys, but like my first introduction to some of this stuff was like the DARE program. Do you guys remember that in school? And those commercials that they would show us of like the egg and then the egg frying, like this is your brain. And then this is your brain on drugs. Like they kind of terrified us with things like that too. So addiction, I always thought that's not me. I'm not addicted to anything. I have no addicted things. When I was 29, my dad was diagnosed with lung cancer, and he was a smoker when he was younger. He started when he was 14, and he was a smoker, and he quit when we were younger. He was never allowed to smoke around us. Like we had rules, like my mom had rules around that, and then when he was 60, he was diagnosed with lung cancer. And I can remember asking, he did stop that day that he was diagnosed, but I remember asking him, why don't you just stop? Why don't you? And he's like, it, I wish I would have never started. And so he said, it's the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. And so I didn't quite understand it then, because anytime somebody tells me something is bad, I'm the type of personality that's like, then I won't do that. Um, but when it's something that is in your food, we have to eat, right? So it makes it a little bit more tricky when it's something like this, sugar addiction. So, so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of get started in there with anything. Does anybody want to share anything about addiction that they have had? Um, like I said, I've seen my dad with the smoking thing. I never thought it was me until I kind of got into this program. And I also kind of started seeing some of my other tendencies, and I was like, oh no. I don't know if you guys have ever heard it, but when Brittany was talking about like cravings and like when to do the ball of light, I was like, I don't have cravings because I don't bring that kind of stuff into my house. But I was in my car, just like Lisa is right now, and I was listening to that. And I was on my way from one store that did not have the sour balls that my dad and I used to eat together, 20 minutes driving to the next store when I literally heard Brittany say what that was, that those cravings and that addiction to it. So I was like, ooh, that is me. So, so I started doing some more research and I started kind of getting into it. And there's a lot of us out there that had a sugar addiction or have a sugar addiction. Um, so I'm going to kind of go into like the brain growth and things like that, and then kind of go into some things that we can do to help and kind of describe it a little bit. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, you guys are more than welcome to shout them out whenever, or raise a hand, or just do whatever. Okay. It looks like I am the only coach here. So with the chat, I may not see all of it until the end. If you guys are okay with that. Okay. All right. So does anybody know how old we are when our brain stops growing? Any guesses? Let's see. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Rocky. 5? Oh, I can't hear you.
5.
Uh, we're
About 5.
actually we're actually between 25 and 26 when our
Oh,
brain stops growing.
wow.
Yeah, I know, right? So picture yourself as a 25-year-old and think of all the stuff that you did and your brain wasn't even done growing yet. I was a mom by then, right? And so that just kind of blew my mind away. But so when we go through puberty, okay, the last part of our brain is to develop is this prefrontal cortex right here. Okay. And our brain kind of goes under construction a couple times. It goes under construction when we go through puberty. Okay. And that's when it's kind of getting new neural pathways that we need to learn things and kind of getting rid of some old ones. And then when we go through menopause as women, it kind of goes through another reconstruction. Okay. So there's a couple times in our life as women when it kind of starts going. I don't know if there's any men on the call, but definitely with that puberty one for all of us. So this is the last part of our brain to develop. It's right in the middle of our forehead. And what it does is it oversees our executive function and making choices and controlling emotions. Okay. It is creating new pathways all the time. And it is also gets rid of the pathways that we do not need anymore. So, like, let's say, for example, you like to knit. Okay. So you're knitting, knitting, knitting. And so your brain, is you're getting more practice at knitting, you're getting better at it, you're trying harder patterns. Maybe you've decided to knit a sweater. Your brain is kind of focused on that. But let's say you used to do quilting and your brain isn't saving that information anymore. So it's going to start saving the more of the information that we are using, that we are practicing with. Okay. So sometimes things get pruned and sometimes things get stronger. So it just kind of depends on what you're working with. Okay. Let's see. So let's talk a little bit about what your brain is looking for. So dopamine is a neurotransmitter that is the key part of the reward circuit. It's associated with executive behavior. When a certain behavior causes the excess release of dopamine, you get like a pleasurable high that you are inclined to want to re-experience. So, like maybe it could be even like going on a roller coaster. It doesn't have to be necessarily ingesting anything. It could be spending time with friends. It doesn't have to be something, like I said, that you ingest. Okay. So we repeat this behavior more and more, and our brain will adjust. Okay. So it's like, oh, that's not enough. So, like, let's take the sugar, for example. We have some, okay, we like it. And then what happens is maybe then that's not enough the next time, or the couple times where you get used to it and your brain wants more and more because it can have a release of that dopamine that makes you feel good. Okay. We can also get this release of dopamine through activities, like I said, spending time with friends, you know, um, trying a new recipe in the kitchen, those types of things as well. So it's not just, like I said, something that you put in. Let's see. So researchers and nutritionists have not yet agreed how addictive sugar is, but they do agree that sugar has addictive properties. And we need the more that we ingest, the more that we want. And so but they all agree that ingesting unhealthy amounts is not good for any of us. And I have in here that I mean, I wrote all my notes out and things like that. And more is not better. It's just more, right? So more birthday cake, more whatever. It's just more. It's not necessarily better. If you're one of those people that can take a bite and be done with it, that's fine. But when we want more of something, it doesn't make it better, including things like exercise and things like that too. Okay, so let's see. I have these all in order, so I'm just trying to kind of see how um, so the goal of the human brain is to be independent. That's what we're striving for when we are going through puberty, because the brain's goal needs to make a lot of decisions. Okay, and I don't know if you guys remember when we were kind of going through that, we kind of pulled away from our parents in those teenage years. We started spending more time with friends and all of that stuff. Then maybe perhaps some of us moved out on our own after we got done with high school and things like that. So that's what we kind of crave, that independence as humans. Um, so if we ignore some of these cravings, like for the dopamine and stuff like that, we can have low levels of dopamine can cause things like depression, not being able to sleep, and things like that. So the thrill of doing something new, like even like I said, going on a roller coaster or something like that, or eating that sugar, can spike that. Um, so eating sugar releases opioids and dopamine in our bodies. That is a link between added sugar and addictive behavior. Have you guys ever seen those memes of those little kids um, that have gotten sugar for like the first time and they're just like this, or you know what I mean, have gotten, like a sugar buzz or something? It's because literally their body is like freaking out. They don't know what to do with all of that that's coming in. So when I see that, it does look kind of funny, but it is also to me, like I look at it and I'm like, oh, that's so sad, because they're having like an overload of this dopamine. So when we're thinking about our desire to eat sugar, I want you to understand that it's not our fault. Sugar is in a lot of things, and we're going to talk about reading labels and things like that as well. Um, so when we eat sugar, the food industry has injected sugar into almost everything, or sugar substitutes. There are 75 different names for sugars. Isn't that insane? Um, they really do work to disguise it well. They also have chemists and things like that on some of these bigger places that will actually try to make it so that we cannot just eat one. On some of these bigger, like for some reason Doritos keeps popping in my mind and things like that. They have these chemists and things like that they're like taste people that want to make it taste better and taste sweeter so that we as humans want it more. And so they want to keep us addicted into craving it. Humans' addictive thinking and addictive behaviors keep us hooked so that the sugar is also a comfort. It soothes emotions. It can give us false energy, and it can also have us overindulge in the foods that we're eating. So, like I said, more is not better, it's just more. Um, and so, let's see. Also, too, I just wanted you guys to kind of keep it in mind, and we'll talk about this a little bit at the end, is just be sometimes we're our own worst critics, and don't be so hard on yourself. I want you guys to, be compassionate, because this is what you guys are here looking for is a life change. This is not just a temporary change. So you guys are really putting the work in. So I applaud you for that, because I think that it was, like Teresa said on last night, it doesn't happen overnight and it's not going to be quick, but it will be sustainable once you guys get to that point. Let's see. So let's talk a little bit about how sugar is processed through your body. So, um, so how does sugar impact your lifestyle? It kind of depends on you, because we are all bio individuals. Like, have you ever noticed how somebody can have something, like maybe one cup of coffee, and they get, caffeine from it, and then you have to have 4 cups? Like, everybody's a little bit different. So it can make some people, when they eat sugar, it can make them feel happy. It can make them feel energetic. It can make them feel sleepy, depressed, anxious, or calm. It just kind of depends on that person. So let's see how it's processed by the body. So when we take sugar in, insulin spikes. And then when our liver turns the insulin into fat, our liver does want to try to protect us too. And sometimes it's like, I have too much insulin coming in, I have too much. So let's store this over here on our hips, or let's store it over here by our belly. Like, it's trying to use reserves, because the human body is so smart. It doesn't want us to be sick, right? As the liver releases sugar, it goes into the bloodstream, and sometimes even our blood pressure can go up. Dopamine levels go into the brain and they surge, kind of like that little kid, right? Um, High insulin can cause glucose levels to also plummet, and your body gets tired and asks for more sugar to try to offset the balance. Okay. So we can also start having these other effects going on. Now, when we're thinking about that as quick, let's kind of talk about what it kind of happens to each kind of thing it goes through. So, as of 2023, American adults consume on an average of 19.5 or more teaspoons of added sugar every day. And the recommendation is 6. That is a huge difference. Okay. Um, Body affects excess sugar consumption. It can be from obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, liver disease, kidney disease, dental problems, increased risk of cancer, accelerated aging, GI issues, and skin issues as well. So let's talk about a little bit more as it is going through the brain. The sugars trigger the release of dopamine, that feel-good hormone that we talked about. The more sugars you eat, the more you need to reach that same sugar high. Okay. With our skin, it can be acne that can break out from too much sugar, or even like a rosacea type of thing. Um, and I can tell, like I have rosacea. I can tell when I've had something like sometimes like spaghetti sauce, something like acidy will set it off as well, or strawberries or something like that. If I have too many, that can bring my rosacea up. So definitely with the sugar as well. In the liver, it converts the excess sugar into fat. And an overload can lead to problems of like the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. They're finding it more and more, and now they're even finding it in children, which is insane to me. The standard American diet is a little bit crazy, and that's what I was kind of thinking about as I was writing this. And that's why you know how when they come out with things like, oh, supersize it or make it a little bit bigger or get the bigger one. In our mind, we're like, yeah, that's a better deal because I'm spending less, but I'm getting more. But more is not always better. Or like I can remember when my husband and I first got married, we would go to the grocery store together and he was like, "Oh, it's a better deal if we get the ketchup that's this big." And I'm like, "We don't need that much ketchup and we don't have anywhere to put that much ketchup." He's like, "But it's a better deal." Like, so I understand thinking of it like that, but we don't, more is not always better, just more. That's what I always say, just more. Like fast isn't always better, it's just faster. So when we're thinking about it going through the pancreas, excess sugar can prompt the pancreas to push insulin production into overdrive, which can also lead to diabetes. With our stomach, eating too much refined sugar it alters our microbiome. Okay. And we have these little microbes that live in our microbiome in our intestines. And if we start giving them sugar, they will start wanting more sugar and we're going to be feeding them sugar because we're like, oh, that's what I'm hungry for, right? Sometimes when we're hungry, it's not what do I want? It's what does my body need? That's what I started asking myself is instead of, hey, what sounds good? What do I want? It's like, well, what does my body really need? What is sounding good to my microbiome? Like, what is sounding good to all those little microbes in there? Um, and so I kind of started thinking about it that way, like, ooh, let's feed them some of this and some fermented food and some of this yogurt and things like that too. And that has kind of changed things for me as well. Instead of like rushing in and binging, it's like, what does my body need? It kind of gives me pause for a minute.
Thank
So
you
with
all
our,
coming to my
oh, go ahead. Somebody have a question? Maddie, do you have a question? No. Okay. So with our kidneys, overconsumption of the sugar can lead to hyperglycemia or diabetes or failure. Heart studies show that the more sugar that we have can make our the arteries in our heart hard, but we don't want it to contribute to that hardness of the arteries. So with your brain, the brain uses more energy than any other organ that we have. Okay. It relies on glucose for its primary source of fuel. But what happens when the brain is exposed to an excess amount of sugars, like our standard American diet, um, it wants more, which is not definitely better. So what will also happen in our brain is it can slow our cognitive skills, which is memory loss. We can have problems with attention. maybe we're too active or we're too slow. It can increase depression and anxiety. It can make it hard to process emotions. Okay. Um, it's like drug-like effects with the reward center with the cravings, right? Decreased self-control, and so with that overindulgence. And those are things that we are all getting super familiar with the different types of tapping can help with, right? We can do the ball of light with the cravings. We can do the echo tapping with the emotional eating and things like that too. Okay. So when we're thinking about how much is too much, okay, um, I just kind of wrote down some of these things that I thought were interesting. Like in a soft drink, there are 39 grams of sugar or 9.75 teaspoons. And if we're supposed to only have six a day, we can get that in one soft drink, which blows my mind. Right. A flavored yogurt can have 19 to 25 grams or 4.75 teaspoons of sugar. Cereal can have 10 to 25 grams or 2 to 5, depending on the brand and the kind. Energy drinks can have 27 grams, 27 in one energy drink, or 7 teaspoons of sugar. Um, as a teacher, sometimes I go into middle schools and teach about good decision making. And I usually go and teach like the sixth and the seventh graders. And one time I went in there and this one kiddo had like 3 monster drinks on his desk, just ready to go. And I was like, are those supposed to be in here? And the teacher's like, no, we're not supposed to have those here. But that just, he was what, 11, 12. So that just blew my mind that they're thinking that that's okay. And as they grow up, they're going to still be drinking that stuff or something like it, like the coffee or whatever. Um, Fruit juice contains 24 grams or 6 teaspoons. A cookie contains 10 grams each or 2.5 teaspoons. Condiments also have sugar in them, like ketchup and barbecue sauce, and some like soy sauces and things like that. They can have 4 grams, which is that 1 teaspoon. A donut or a muffin can have 22 or 32 grams or 5.5 to 7.5 teaspoons of sugar. And a Starbucks coffee drink can have anywhere between 42 and 73 grams, which would be 10 to 15 tablespoons or teaspoons of sugar. So that kind of just put it a little bit in perspective for me as far as like, wow, you know, I know that cereal has some, but depending on the cereal and the Starbucks drinks, those are crazy to me. Just to think about all the sugar that's in there. But that's what makes it taste better because I do not like coffee because I don't think it tastes good. But some people really like that bitter taste. Um, so as I was saying earlier, there are over like 75 different names for sugar. And it was everything from like they try to hide it in like, fructose, anything with the OSE ending, a lot of times is sugar. But it can also be like cane juice, and it can even say things like yellow sugar and all these different types. Agave nectar, all of that kind of stuff. That is that stimulant as well. So read our nutrition labels. How are you guys at reading? You guys, I know, probably are really good at reading the nutrition labels, but it's the ingredients that we need to look at, okay? Because the nutrition labels will tell you things like the calories, the fat, the carbohydrate, all of that stuff. But when they're talking about sugar, is it in the first 5 ingredients? So if sugar is in the first 5 ingredients, I don't get it. If it's in, that's kind of a rule that I had when I was pregnant with my last kiddo. I had a gestational diabetes scare, and I went and I looked in our pantry and saw all the sugar that was in there. And so I just started throwing it away. And I also thought it was easier just to eat cookies all day because that's what I had time for because I had 2 other kids. So I just eat some cookies and then I'd eat dinner. But it's okay because the baby doesn't mind, right? Well, when I had that test that we have at some time point in our pregnancy, they were like, you're right on the border there. And so I looked at all the stuff. I started taking it away. I had a friend that did no sugar, so I had her actually come over to my pantry and tell me what to get out. So that was super helpful. But I started looking at the ingredients of everything that we were buying. And if sugar was in the top five or a sugar product, we didn't get that. We just kept looking for something else. Um, or I would make it myself, like cream of mushroom soup. I started making that myself to put in recipes or things like that, because then I know exactly what's going into it. So make sure that we are reading the ingredients label as well as those nutrition labels as well. Um, so when we think about, um, I'm not saying that sugar isn't something that you should ever do. This is just kind of trying to explain the addiction part of it a little bit and how it lights up that dopamine. Other things will light up that dopamine besides, like I said, things that we take in. But there are also some things that trigger it as well. So some things that can trigger you wanting more sugar can be, emotional dependence. It can be, hey, this is just what I do every day. I used to work at the fire department for a long time, and sitting at a desk, I would get bored out of my mind, and I would just snack all day on trail mix or whatever. But I was just felt like I just had to be doing something. But then I started noticing at 3 o'clock, our administrative assistant had a dish of candy up on like on the her desk, and at 3 o'clock, you could just start hearing everybody going to get into the candy dish. And I started noticing that and started thinking, wow, that's really interesting that about 3 o'clock, everybody starts to kind of get this dip. And so I suggested maybe doing a 3 o'clock meditation or 3 o'clock stretching instead so that we could all get together and do that instead of snacking. And that would kind of get us out of our chairs, out of our office, even going outside, and just, having the sun on our face for a little bit is helpful. So there are some kind of things like that that you can do as well. But some things kind of trigger it. It can be, like I said, that timing of the day. It can be, if we're sad, maybe we'll eat sugar. Sometimes a lot of times humans use food as a reward when they do something well or they complete something or whatever, or a bribe. I've noticed that sometimes with kiddos, you're like, hey, if you do this, you can have this milkshake or whatever. And we might have been brought up that way with that bribe, hey, do this, and then you can get food as a reward. Social situations. Sometimes it is events, gatherings, dining out can be a whole other thing too. Um, and sometimes, like I said, it can be those environmental things, such as like walking past a bakery or something like that, that can kind of trigger that want of that sugar for that dopamine hit. So, but there are some things that we can do. We can cut back on the sugar. We can not be hard on ourselves. Okay. When I was putting this together, I kind of was looking at some sayings that were I thought it's kind of cool. Believe in yourself and all that you are. Know that there is something inside you that is greater than any obstacle. And I kind of feel that's by Christian Larson. And I feel like that's so true. Everything is figure out. You guys may have heard that phrase somewhere, but it really is. The other day, my husband was watching a movie, and he was like, "Every problem is solvable." Like the movie, not my husband. With every problem is solvable, you just have to take a look at it and figure out that piece of it, and then that piece is solved. Now there's going to be something else that comes up. So there may be things that keep coming up, but we have what's inside of us is greater than those obstacles. And that's why you guys are here. You guys are healing what's inside so that those obstacles are going to be like, that's not a problem for me anymore. When I first started tapping with my cravings, I did chocolate because there is a picture of my fourth birthday party, and that's the earliest memory that I have of eating something chocolate. And I was tapping with my coach, and I can't describe what happened. It was so amazing, but I felt like like my heart just like fill up with the love from my mom and like overflow with just this feeling of gratitude and appreciation and love for her that I didn't know was possible. And so I don't feel like I have to have that anymore. Yes, have I had it since? Oh yeah, that was years ago. I have a bunch of chocolate in my special stash right now that I got for Christmas, but I know it's there, but I haven't felt the need to go get it because now I feel like I'm the one in control, not the chocolate. Does that make sense? So I can get it if I want, and if I don't want it, I don't have to get it. Like it doesn't have that pull on me anymore. Um, so I want you guys to be super gentle with yourselves. I want you guys to, I think that you guys are more aware of probably most that are like, hey, why am I having this craving? Let's peel back some of these layers and see what's going on. But like I said earlier, we can be our worst critics. Um, you've already started the practice of self-love and worth and appreciation. I feel like just because you're here, um, we want to make sure that we're not doing any negative self-talk. As soon as you hear yourself doing that or saying it, replace it with words of compassion. Replace it with, acceptance for who you are right now and compassion for yourself and how important that this and how much courage this takes to take these steps. And I feel like you guys have already done a lot of that. Um, and sometimes we have to go back with it. Sometimes you like get one thing peeled away and another one will pop up that you didn't even realize was there. And I know that some of you guys have experienced that already. Um, but there are some reasons to eat less sugar. Health improvement is one of them. Okay. Um, this is one of the reasons why people mostly stop eating sugar is so that they can feel healthier or get healthier. Weight management, energy levels, and mood stability. I don't know if you've ever noticed how your mood changes when you either need the sugar or get too much sugar. Moods can change as well. As soon as we kind of get that sugar under control, that does help too. So it could because it stabilizes our blood sugar up more when we don't keep intaking it. And improved mental focus and clarity is also a great thing that we can use this for. Reducing sugar can lead to better enhanced concentration, memory, mental clarity. They are now calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes because of all of the sugar and what it does to our brain. Another reason why people cut down on their sugar is disease prevention or management. There's a growing awareness that the role of sugar, it's a chronic inflammatory. And a lot of times when you stop having sugar, like if you have like joint issues or something like that, it can really help with those joint issues. Or like I said, even with my skin on my rosacea, it flares up if I've had too much. So that's inflammation as well. Um, so, um, so you kind of have to figure out what your why is on why you don't want to have this sugar consumption. Like mine, when I was pregnant, was because I was pregnant. That was my why. I really had to cut back on that stuff. I didn't realize how much that was affecting not just me, but my baby. And I have to tell you, out of all three of my babies, that one is the one that will eat sugar like no other and hide it from me and sneak it in. She's also had the most cavities. Um, but but so it can impact our lifestyles as well. So let's see. Like I said earlier, trying to avoid those triggers can or like even like with the tapping stuff, we do have how to tap on social situations before we go there, and things like that too. So so do you guys have any questions? I feel like that was super fast, and I know that we might have even 30 minutes of questions. But do you guys have any questions or comments so far? Or anything to add? Like, did you guys ever, like, some of you, like I said, that word addict, I don't love it, but I don't know how else to explain it. Rocky, go ahead.
Yes. Would you repeat what you said about Alzheimer's being the third diabetes?
Yeah, that's what they're calling it, diabetes 3, because of all of the sugar consumption and how it inflames the brain and
Okay.
it makes it hard for like memory. It makes it hard for cognitive stuff. So that's what they're calling it now is type 3 diabetes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Now, do any of you guys have like certain things that like there are certain things like I don't understand why my brain clings onto some of these, and again, it's probably those memories. But have you guys ever seen like those little cat?
You're frozen. Was she about to say Cadbury?
Not sure.
I thought she was going to say Pez. Remember those
Oh,
Pez candy?
yes.
Mm,
Right up there with the little sugar hearts for Valentine's Day.
Oh, yeah.
oh, yes.
Lemon hearts? Oh,
Oop, did she drop off?
No, I don't know what happened. That was weird.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm here. Okay.
Well, we were
Um,
trying to guess what you were getting ready to say because you've got half
no,
a word out.
I don't remember what I was saying because as soon as
Sounded
it went
like
blank,
Cadbury. Somebody else says maybe Pez dispenser.
yes. Yeah, it was Cadbury eggs. Do you
Ding ding.
guys know those little Cadbury eggs, right? And so, like I said, for some reason, I don't even like milk chocolate, but you put a thin candy shell around it, and I am all over it. But like M&Ms, I won't touch. So it just depends on like, so I need to go back and figure out what that memory is for me around that food, right? And I think that that will be super beneficial. And I just haven't done that part yet. But it's not Easter yet. So, but they probably are out in stores by now. I saw that like as soon as Christmas was over, like all the Valentine stuff went out. Um, so do you guys have a better understanding or any questions about how what happens in the body or what why it is that we get addicted to that? It's not our fault. It's just the way that our human brain is designed to get these dopamine hits. But what we can do instead, like I said, is we can do activities instead. I think that you guys might have also heard Brittany say things like, once you get this under control, then you're going to have so much time. You're going to need to get a new hobby. There's going to be more time because we're not thinking about food all the time. And the same thing with these dopamine things. Is it going out with friends? Is it taking a walk after dinner? Like all of those types of things will still give us that dopamine hit that we need because we're human, but it won't cause us harm. Does that make sense to you guys? Do you guys have any questions? Comments?
I just have a
Um,
comment that this was really
okay.
helpful. It was helpful to hear about this and affirming about, like I already knew sugar wasn't the greatest and that it was addictive, but I didn't have the details like that you provided. So that was really helpful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Lori. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's because it's that human brain part. And also, too, we are drawn to bright colors. So, like our caveman brain was drawn to like the berries and the bright fruit in the fall so that we could collect that kind of stuff. So, they do make things very bright. They do. Have you guys ever noticed all the sugary cereal is right down there at child level? Have you guys noticed that down the aisle? So, when little kids go in there, I don't even remember wanting the cereal when I was little. I just wanted the prize that was in the box. Do you guys remember when cereal came with prizes in the box? And so, um, but when I grew up, we only got Raisin Bran granola and plain Jane Cheerios. But Grandma got us the whatever we wanted. And so, when you're checking out, all of that candy is right there for those kids to just be drawn to. And that's why when they are having problems with things like the Tide Pods, those trigger in a little kid's brain, that looks like candy, that looks like something I can eat. And they put it in their mouth because it's brightly colored. Um, so it's just by Kathy. So it's just how we're wired as a human. And then they put sugar in everything. Like I said, start reading those ingredients labels because you'll be like, why is it in my ketchup? Why is it in my barbecue sauce? why is it in this spice? Like, why is it in my taco seasoning? Like, you'll start seeing it in places that you never even thought that it would be. Also, I wanted to tell you when something says natural flavors, we don't know what that is. And when something says sugar free, it may not have sugar, but they put something else in there to make it sweet. So our brain still feels like it's getting the sugar. Lori.
I was just thinking about maple syrup and honey because
Okay.
I think part of my brain goes, my thought goes, well, this is more natural, it's more whole, and I deserve something. So that's where I go. So
Okay.
I've been cutting out the sugar after the holidays because I've noticed that I've gained weight, my skin's starting to have a rash. So there's something going on that I've had too much flour sugar, so I'm cutting those out. And then I thought, well, so then I justified, well, I'll just, when I have my yogurt and my bananas on my yogurt in the morning, and I don't do sweetened yogurt, but I will put a dollop of maple syrup on it, justifying it in my mind that I need a
Yeah.
treat of some sort, and it's more natural.
Well, let me tell you what I do love about that. Also, too, the rash can be part of the detoxing process, just to let you
Yeah.
know.
Mhm.
But what I do love more about like the honey and the maple syrup is with the maple syrup, you're getting some other things in there too that can also be helpful. The honey, if it's local honey, you can also be getting pollens in there to help with like allergies and stuff like that. So I'm not here to say like to demonize sugar and be like, you should never do it. And there are some people that that are sugar free that I know, and they won't even have flour. They won't even have like potatoes. They will not have anything like that. Again, that's their lifestyle choice, right? Um, but I would much rather you have the honey or the maple syrup than refined sugar on top of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's good.
I think your body is going to process it the same way. You're still going to get that, but there are other benefits with those that there are not with like that refined stuff
Yeah.
or
If
the man-made.
I think if I needed it like 12 times a day, then not be telling me something.
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Um, But and then also times people will say that there's, sugar in fruit and things like that too. And while yes, there is fructose in fruit. So let's say you're eating the apple, but you're also getting all the fiber that is in that apple. So it slows down that insulin spike. Okay. But if you're just drinking like apple juice, okay, no fiber in there, that's not a good choice for us because it will spike that super high. Okay. But the apple itself slows it down because of all of the extra stuff that's going in with it, with the fiber, the skin, you're getting, vitamins and minerals and things from it and other things as well.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yeah.
And I kind of like I'm thinking of it as a harm reduction model. Like at least I'm weaning myself from that like insatiable. I want my sweets and cookies and chocolates. And so this is a kind of a stepping stone for me, and it seems to be
Right.
working. Seems to be working.
Well, and one thing that I noticed about me too is when I want some of these sweet treats, I'm driving because I live in the country. And so driving, we have to drive 30 minutes just to get to the nearest town. And so I get bored. I'm like, oh, so I started chewing gum instead of
Mm-hmm.
snacking. And so that was helpful, right? So sometimes we do these little hacks that can kind of help us with that because I was munching on things even when I wasn't hungry in the car. So that has seemed to help me as well. But my brain was thinking, because when I was a teenager, I would grab Diet Coke and one of those big Tootsie Rolls from the gas station and then drive up to the mountains to see the guy I was dating at the time. And that's what that's kind of what it goes back to. And
Right.
so it's just kind of interesting how that imprints on our blueprint.
Mm. Yeah.
But with the tapping, we know we can change that blueprint, which is super amazing.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Does anybody else have any questions or wants to share something like maybe something that they are like, hey, is this okay? Or just like Lori with her sweet treat, which is also great because you're also getting the protein of the yogurt and you're also getting the potassium of the bananas and things like that. So there's a lot that goes in there. Margaret, go ahead.
What occurred to me when you were talking about your 3 o'clock pick me up,
Mhm.
I wrote down substitute and then wrote down substitute for sugar, like movement, go for a walk, just go outside, um, just things to do instead.
Right? Just a lot of times when we just preoccupy our brain for a little bit to get off of it, our brain forgets and goes and does something else, like the walk. And then you're like, oh, I don't want it anymore. Um, or it could be gentle stretching, or it can be, oh, I'm going to fold that thing of laundry instead. And then a lot of times you will just forget about it,
Right.
because you get a dopamine hit a different way with the walk, not necessarily folding the laundry, but with the walk, um, you can maybe get, that dopamine hit another way.
Well, I know being outside for me is a big plus.
Yeah.
So, and 10 minutes outside, whether it's sunny or not, makes a big difference. So,
It really does. The human body connecting with nature is super amazing. I live in the forest, and so I just have to go outside, and I'm surrounded by trees. And so we have acreage where I have like a walking path and stuff like that. And sometimes I'll just go and walk on the path. It's called forest bathing, just to get out in nature. It doesn't have to be a forest. It could be a park. It could even be just grounding and putting your bare feet on the grass in your lawn. It doesn't have to be anything crazy.
right.
Yeah. So I love even just going outside and feeling the wind on my face a little bit. You know what I mean? Just that breeze and hearing the birds. And that's how I know like spring is coming. Even if it's snowing, I hear birds chirping, type of thing. Um, but it really does make a difference. And just taking that break and getting out there and getting that sun on our face a little bit. Thank you for the share, Margaret.
Sure.
Um, so if you decide that this is something that you want to do and dive a little bit more into having no sugar, you can also do things like write a breakup letter to sugar, on how sugar doesn't serve you anymore, or how, hey, I'm going to, um, thank you for being there for me for a little bit, kind of like how with our tapping we've done like that. So maybe just kind of thinking of some of those things before you do some of your tapping, and just how it doesn't serve you anymore, how you're not like almost like a breakup love letter type of thing, has been helpful for some people. And even tapping, once you get it written down and then tapping through that, I think can be very powerful. Um, just because you're thankful for whatever food it was, the cookies or whatever that get you through that time, but you don't need them anymore. Um, so I think that that can also be really helpful. And then tapping through that as you're reading the letter out loud can be super powerful. Do you guys have any other questions or would like to share? How is your tapping going so far? Thumbs up? Is it going well? Good. Rocky, I see your thumb slowly moving across the screen. I love that.
I was trying to get it where it could be seen.
Yeah, yeah. I know, like on our thing, I try not to move my hands a whole lot because they disappear, but I'm a very hand person. Um, and another thing that I want you guys to think about is reading those nutrition labels. I know I've said that like 5 times, but those ingredient labels, if sugar is in that first top 5, maybe see if there's a better choice. See if there's another brand that has, the sugar not in the top 5. Really staying away from processed foods, and trying to stay to that outer edges of the grocery store. And I know that Teresa talked a little bit about that. Um, but when we're thinking about sugar, it is everywhere. Um, Kids get it at school as rewards. People, when they want to gift you something, they will give you, some chocolate or something like that. It is everywhere. As soon as you walk in the grocery store, bam, it's there. It's even at places like hardware stores that don't sell food, um, like um, like farm stores, like Big R and
Mhm.
Murdoch's and things. They even have food there, which I'm like, why do we need to have food here? And so liquor stores have food, like all of these places have food that is just right there for you just to grab some really quick. Um, so it does feel like sometimes it's like hitting you from every angle. But you can even put yourself in like sometimes I do like it's called the zip up, and you guys may have heard of this from Donna Eden. I do like a zip up, or I envision myself being in like this bubble before I go into the grocery store, so that I'm just like safe in my bubble, that nothing that I don't see that food, I just walk past the food, that it's just safe there. And so when I do that, I kind of feel like, hey, that's not part of my bubble. I don't feel like I need a part of that. Or I really do also watch my hands. One time I was in the store with those Cadbury eggs and they had a big thing of it and it even resealed. That's how big this bag was. Okay. So what I did was I saw my hand reaching for it and I looked and I was like, that's my hand. No. I was like, that's my hand. Like I took ownership of like, that's my hand reaching for this. I need to stop now. So sometimes just kind of being a little bit more aware. I know that Teresa talked a little bit about tapping while you're in the store, but maybe even before you go in to be like, hey, what's my strategy? Where do I need to stay? I need to stick to my list. Things like that too. Because my husband is so good at sticking to the list. I am not as good. And I don't know if that's you as well. Because if he's, and I'm like, oh, you didn't get this. He's like, it wasn't on the list, but it's just something like that little sweet treat that I would get anyway. I notice sometimes when I'm at the store, I'll just be like, oh, I'll just get one little sweet treat for me. And it, I don't have to do that anymore after this echo tapping, after the ball of light tapping. That's not, I don't even think about that anymore. So, so those are some ideas on maybe when to do tapping before we even get into that store to kind of give us that feeling of, hey, I got this. I don't need that. Okay. Um, any other questions or ideas or suggestions?
I will say you mentioned, I've been tapping into AI a lot for my tapping and things
Yeah,
lately, and I just threw in there, write a letter, write a breakup letter for sugar. And it said, here's a gentle sugar-coated breakup letter, kind, appreciative, and compassionate, while still being clear that the relationship needs to end. And then I
yeah,
thought, okay. And then it says types of sugar breakups, and it goes into various things. Then my next question is make it short and sassy.
right. You could
So,
even, yeah,
so I thought that was
yes,
kind of fun.
yes, you can make it. I've even heard of people like referring to sugar like it was their Prince Charming at one time, and then now it is not, right?
Hmm.
Now it's a dragon that they're trying to slay, right?
Ah.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for the share. Sherry.
Hi, I apologize. I came in late, so if just tell me if you've already covered this, and I'll go
Okay.
back and watch the replay. Okay.
Okay.
But I had a question when you were talking about responses to sugar and brain responses and things like that. Um, I have an issue with baked goods. Okay.
Okay.
In particular, there's a local grocery store that I walk in and I can smell the the bakery. You know, I can smell the donuts and the things like that. And I feel I've had enough experience with this. I can feel an insulin release when I smell it.
Yeah.
How do I work through that? Because it's not even about tasting it.
No. So what I have one example. People are now trying continuous glucose monitors to kind of see what their insulin is.
Mm-hmm.
And we had this one gentleman, he was one of my teachers. He said that he put it on and he put a baked potato in the oven. His insulin was rising and he hadn't eaten anything. And so what happens with those, then I would go and take a walk around the block just to get that insulin out. You know what I mean? Just to kind of get that that spike out of my system, right? Shake, do whatever you need to do. Do some air squats, do whatever just to kind of get that insulin spike out of your system.
A little tricky in the grocery store, but
It,
yeah.
no one will judge. Be like, look away. I'm going to do this. Yeah. So, actually, I am that crazy one in the grocery store. But yeah, but also too, your body has got it. But just now you need to get rid of it. And so, yep, that's what I would do.
Okay.
When I'm standing in line, a lot of times I'll do like toe raises or something like that when I'm waiting for gas to pump or I'm waiting, you know what I mean? I'll do like air squats and stuff there just because I'm like trying to kill time. But just even trying to get that out, like I said, a lot of times you're right. It can even be just a smell that you smell something. Yep. Which is so interesting to me and with the human body, right? Isn't that crazy?
It is. And it's so hard for me not to stop and just get myself a little, twist or even a donut hole.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes though, I think that like, is this worth it? Like sometimes like I try to rationalize that a little bit, but with doing this, all of this tapping, like I said, it just won't taste the same. And then you'll just stop doing it.
So
So
I
you may,
guess that's my
oh,
question is can I tap ahead of time and I won't react to it?
give it a try. Yeah, try it. Be like, I know that this is what's going to be in there. Be like, um, but like I would tap on, I know that this is going to be in there, but I look at how well I'm doing. I really don't want this. It's a habit that I'm trying to break. You know what I mean? Those types of things. And then that way, when you get in there and be like, hey, I don't need that. But if you do eat it, be like, do I would actually do the ball of light with it. And I would be like, okay, how bad do I want this right now? Okay. And then taste a little bit of it and just kind of go through the steps again. Okay. Because what will happen at some point is that smell will not trigger you anymore.
Okay. That's what I was going to say is I've done the ball of light with it. I'm not as drawn to them anymore. It doesn't even taste that good, but but will my body just learn to stop releasing insulin?
Yeah. It'll just learn like that's not your thing anymore.
Okay.
That's not, that doesn't do it for you anymore. Yeah. Yep. Which is also so interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Lori.
Yeah, I was just noticing when you were talking about the breakup letter, right away I was like, that doesn't work. And so to me, or that won't work. And I noticed that resistance. When Rocky brought up the AI, that made it more interesting.
Yeah, right.
But then I was thinking further. I have an association, and I probably have more, I don't know, but I realized this a couple of days ago. I have an association with my dad around sugar, in that he used to share with me what they were called Sweet Marie chocolate bars. And he would buy one for me and he would have one and we both would share them together. And to me, that was a very special kind of moment of attention, love. And so what will be interesting is if I do the breakup letter with sugar, which I'm going to try, it means I have to watch it. It doesn't mean breaking up with my dad. Right.
That's right. Well, that's where that echo tapping would come in, right? I'm sorry, not the ball of light. Like take everything out of there that feels good. Because like I said, even though I did that ball of light with my mom and the cake, it doesn't, there's a different feeling around the chocolate now. Like I said, it doesn't feel like it's here, but I don't feel like that pull to it. Do you know what I mean? Like that draw to it?
Yeah.
Or my mind doesn't keep going, hey, that's in the pantry. I need to get some of that. Hey, you know what I mean? Type of thing. It's like, oh, I see it, but I'm doing other things now.
Yeah. So I don't know what the ball of light is, so I'll have to figure that out.
Okay. So I would try the ball of light with that first.
Okay.
And so that should be, and it's where like you get the candy bar. I don't know, do they still make them anymore?
No, I haven't seen them around, but
okay. Or something similar. And then like say, how bad do I want this? And okay, I'm at a 10, take a bite of it, see how it tastes. This tastes amazing. And then tap through, like the first time that you can remember having this thing, what it meant between you and your dad, all of those things. And you have all of this stuff in your curriculum as well. And so, but it really, like I said, I physically felt something. I don't know if anybody else can resonate with that. I physically felt my heart filling up, it was just like energy, just my heart filling up and like almost overflowing with this love and gratitude for my mom, which had nothing to do with the chocolate because she passed when I was pregnant. with her first
Aw,
grandbaby
yeah.
and my first baby. And
Mm.
so, but it just, so now that, like I said, I can still have it and I can still enjoy it, but not for the reasons and not the amounts that I was before.
Right. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, because sometimes I have people come to me and say, I'm never giving up sugar. I like this. I want that, you know what I mean? And this is what I'm not giving up. And I'm like, oh, we're not going to ask you to give up any of that
Mhm,
stuff,
mhm,
right?
mhm, mhm.
Just have a different view with it.
Right. Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Got it. Thank you.
yeah, yep. Anybody else? Did you guys find this helpful?
Definitely. I
Um,
learned some things.
Yeah, I just we all have so much to learn from each other, right? That I think that this is just an amazing place to do that. But this was my little specialty one that I was doing. But if you guys have any other questions or concerns about it, you guys are also more than welcome to ask on a next meeting or something like that as well. But look and see some of those different names for sugar. And if you're not sure, look it up on your phone right there in the store. Be like, what is that? If you can't pronounce it, it's probably not good. But I don't know if it's necessarily sugar or not. But if it's sugar or something sugar-like is in those first 5 ingredients, maybe look for something else and see if they have a different product there that doesn't have that in the first 5.
And that's something I didn't realize in the first 5. I always
Yeah.
look and I look down for sugars, but I never thought about the top 5.
Well, also too, did you guys know that when you look at the ingredients label, it goes by the most that's in the product. So let's say you're getting let's say some raisin bread. It will say like wheat, raisins, sugar, you know what I mean? And it will keep going with the ingredients. Wheat, there is the most that's in there. And then there's the raisins, and then there's the sugar. So whatever that product has the most in there is what the first ingredient is, the second most, the second ingredient, the third most, the third ingredient. Did you guys know that part? So that is why we want to try to make not in the first 5. Let's start with that and see how it goes.
So it's
So
more than just looking at the full label, it's looking at the ingredients in the bottom.
yes, because I know that you guys are really good at looking at the nutrition label, but let's get into that ingredient label and let's really see what's in there. Because they can kind of tweak some things in that and say, hey, if we have this in there, we can counter with this. So then there's more, it looks like there's more fiber in there. You know what I mean? Type of thing. But when you're reading the label, that tells you exactly what's in there. And start with it, the first 5, and then maybe go to the first 7 things, or you know what I mean? Just kind of wean yourself off. This doesn't have to be anything that's like a cold turkey thing or anything like that. So I want you guys to still, to love the process of it, because once we like with this whole process, it's a little bit slower, but it will stick. Yeah. Or sometimes I'll even taste something and I'm like, there's sugar in that. And they're like, no, it says there's no sugar. I'm like, there's something in there. I can taste it. Or sometimes I can even smell it now. And I'm like, no, they put something in there. And then we look it up and yep, it's something, it's one of those 75 things. It blows my mind that they can call the same thing 75 different names. So that might be a list that you guys could look up as well. So but our time is done unless you guys have any more questions. But thank you guys so much for coming. I really appreciate you guys coming and sticking around and asking questions and being curious, because I feel like once we get curious about this stuff, that's when we start learning. And I have decided I'm a lifelong learner, and my husband says no more books, but I cannot help it. And so I hope that everybody is as well. So you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Stay warm if it's cold wherever you are.
It's 3 here.
Where are you at,
I'm
Rocky?
in mid-Missouri.
Okay, I'm in Colorado. It's fine. So we're
Mhm.
about the same.
Well, we're going to get hit by morning.
That's what they said too, like 10 inches of snow. And so we'll see. We'll see what happens. But you guys stay warm, take care, and it's so nice to see all your beautiful faces. I appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day.
Have a safe
Thank
weekend.
you.
Bye.
You as well.